Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to reveal has the power to transform the quality of your life, your finances, your success, and your legacy. I want you to set aside all preconceptions, all excuses, all the stories you have told yourself about why you are where you are. For the next few minutes, become intensely present and open, because this moment may very well mark the turning point between a life of mediocrity and a life of abundance, between drifting through existence and becoming the architect of your own fate. Let's start with a single, unshakable truth. Your mental attitude is the root cause of all that you attract and all that you create. It is the compass that sets the direction of your life, the key that unlocks or locks the door to wealth and opportunity. There are those who wander through life in a haze of defeat, apologizing for their failures, cursing their luck, waiting for the world to offer them a handout or a miracle. And then there are those who, regardless of the storm, regardless of setbacks, rise each morning with a mind determined, a spirit unbroken, and a will that cannot be bent by outside conditions. The difference is not in birth, not in circumstances, not in privilege or education. The difference is the deliberate, conscious, unyielding choice to maintain a positive mental attitude. A positive mental attitude is not some shallow optimism or a mask you wear to fool the world while your spirit breaks within. It is not pretending that there are no obstacles or denying the reality of challenge and adversity. No. It is the deep, abiding conviction that within every adversity lies the seed of an equal or greater benefit, and that the mind, when properly directed, becomes the master switch to prosperity, opportunity, and personal power. This is not merely a nice idea, it is the very law of nature and the fabric of human progress. Your attitude is not only the lens through which you see the world, it is the magnet that shapes the world you experience. Now, I want you to confront a question that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. What governs your mind today? Is it fear, doubt, resentment, or apathy? Or is it faith, purpose, gratitude, and desire? Because the mind is never neutral. It is always moving, always influenced, always attracted to one pole or the other. If you do not seize the reins, if you do not take conscious command of your attitude, then the world, your environment, and even your lowest impulses will decide your direction for you. And if you let the world choose, do not be surprised when you find yourself living by default, trapped by limitation, ruled by circumstances, at the mercy of luck. This, right here, is your moment of decision. It is the most powerful choice you will ever make. Will you control your attitude, or will you be controlled? Because your attitude is the only thing over which you have total, absolute, and unchallengeable dominion. You may not control every event, every loss, every twist of fate, but you and you alone decide what those things will mean. You determine how you will respond. And understand this: every response, every interpretation, every persistent thought is a seed. What you plant, you will harvest. What you believe, you will become. Let me shatter the myth that your life is the result of circumstances, that you are a victim of what happens around you. That is the creed of the weak, the philosophy of the drifter. Opportunity and wealth are not reserved for the lucky, the privileged, or the chosen few. They are claimed consciously and persistently by those who have trained their minds to expect, to seek, and to create abundance. Wealth in every sense, financial, spiritual, relational, begins in the mind, is cultivated by attitude, and is manifested through action. You may ask, but I have tried to be positive, and life keeps beating me down. The problem is not with positivity itself. It is with the lack of a burning, definite purpose. No mind can maintain a positive mental attitude unless it is anchored to a purpose so compelling, so urgent, that it overrides temporary pain, setbacks, and doubt. The man or woman who drifts through life hoping for a break is always at the mercy of circumstance. The person who wakes each day with a clear vision, a purpose that makes the heart pound and the blood surge, is immune to defeat. For that person, even failure is simply information, fuel for the next attempt. A positive mental attitude must be built on the foundation of definiteness of purpose. Without a chief aim, the mind wanders. Without a burning goal, you are as helpless as a ship without a rudder, blown and tossed by every wind of disappointment or distraction. Fix your mind on what you want, be specific, be vivid, and be relentless. This is the first act of creation. To see in your mind's eye that which you desire, to feel it as already real, and to make it the organizing principle of your daily thoughts and actions. But attitude is not a one-time decision. It is a discipline. Every day you must wage war against the invaders of doubt, negativity, and fear. Negative thoughts are not casual visitors. They are thieves. And if left unchecked, they will rob you of your potential, your peace, and your prosperity. You must practice what I call mental housekeeping. Every day, take inventory of your thoughts. Interrupt the patterns of worry and complaint, and consciously replace them with gratitude, faith, and vision. When your mind drifts toward fear, stop it with the same urgency as you would stop a criminal entering your home. Train yourself to ask, what am I attracting with these thoughts? What reality am I creating? Here is a simple truth. You become what you repeatedly do. Your dominant thoughts, spoken aloud or left unspoken, become your expectations. Your expectations become your attitude. And your attitude determines your actions, your reactions, your relationships, and ultimately, your results. If you want to change your world, start by changing your habitual thoughts. If you want to build wealth and attract opportunity, cultivate a mindset of expectancy, resourcefulness, and courage. This is where most people fail, not in talent, not in opportunity, but in the discipline to persistently guard their attitude and feed their minds with the right input. You must control your environment. Surround yourself with words, ideas, and influences that reinforce your belief in possibility. Read the works of great achievers. Listen to voices that lift you up. Starve your mind of gossip, complaint, and criticism. Guard your inner circle, because the company you keep will either nourish or poison your mental attitude. Do not wait for motivation to strike. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not ask the world to give you what you are not yet willing to claim. The universe does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to definiteness of purpose backed by faith and action. The person who decides with unshakable resolve, I will not surrender my attitude to outside events. I am the master of my mind, becomes unstoppable. Resources appear, doors open, energy floods in, and failure itself begins to shrink in your presence. But make no mistake, negativity is relentless. The world will call you delusional, unrealistic, or naive for daring to expect more. You must become ruthless in cutting off the infection of negativity. Avoid the company of those who drag you down, whether in person or through the things you absorb daily. Feed your spirit with encouragement, with bold ideas, with stories of triumph. What enters your ears enters your spirit. Your environment is stronger than will, so choose wisely. And let me make this plain. You do not need anyone's permission to develop a positive mental attitude. You do not need approval, credentials, or validation. You need only to decide, make it now, and make it daily. From this moment forward, I lead my mind. I protect my attitude. I declare that my destiny is shaped by my own hand. If you internalize this, you have already moved further than most ever will. Because the world bends to the will of those who stand tall in spirit, even when their bodies are tired and their circumstances look bleak. If you are willing to own your attitude, to defend it fiercely, to cultivate it daily, you have laid the first and greatest foundation for wealth and opportunity. And so, I challenge you, take inventory of your mind tonight. What thoughts dominate your inner world? Are they worthy of your dreams? Are they creating what you want? Resolve right now to begin the process of change. For as you change your attitude, you change your life. And that is the secret at the heart of all achievement. You already understand that your mental attitude is the foundation upon which every success or failure rests. But understanding is not enough. Today, I want you to realize something even more profound. Your mental attitude is not only the root of your personal destiny. It is the force that shapes the economic and spiritual universe you operate in. The law does not bend for the rich or the poor, the educated or uneducated, the fortunate or the forgotten. It bends only to the mind that has seized control of its own thought patterns and directs them with purpose, discipline, and unwavering concentration. And if you will stay with me, if you will truly integrate these truths, then the barriers that once seemed immovable will begin to crumble before you. Let us begin here. Your thoughts are builders. They are the unseen hands that carve the circumstances of your life. Every thought you repeat, every feeling you nourish, every expectation you cling to becomes a blueprint for the world you manifest. This is why the positive mental attitude is indispensable. It is the architect that instructs your subconscious to construct the reality you inhabit. Most people let their minds drift like ships in a storm, tossed aimlessly from fear to worry to distraction. They think without intention, react without awareness, and then blame the world for delivering results they never consciously directed. But you, from this day forward, must no longer drift. You must think with precision. You must decide deliberately. You must direct your mind like a commander directing an army, because that is exactly what you are, the commander of the most powerful creative force you will ever possess. You must now understand the second great law. Thoughts are magnets. Whatever the mind consistently dwells upon, it attracts. You cannot think failure and expect victory. You cannot think scarcity and expect abundance. You cannot think weakness and expect strength. And yet, countless individuals spend their days immersed in negativity, doubt, fear, and resentment, and then wonder why success eludes them. It is not fate that betrays them, it is their own thinking. The mind cannot produce the opposite of what it contains. If you want wealth, think wealth. If you want opportunity, think opportunity. If you want strength, think in terms of power, ability, and growth. This is not imagination. It is the law of cause and effect applied to consciousness. Now, I know what you may be thinking, but I cannot control all my thoughts. My mind wanders. Fear enters even when I try to be strong. And to that, I say, of course your mind wanders, because it has never been trained. The mind, left unmanaged, behaves like a wild animal. It will chase whatever stimulus appears first. But the moment you decide to train it, shape it, and govern it, it becomes your most loyal servant. The task is not to eliminate all negative thoughts. That is impossible. The task is to disallow them control. When a negative thought arises, do not feed it. Do not indulge it. Do not dwell on it. Interrupt it. Replace it. Redirect it. This is how you become the master rather than the prisoner of your own psychology. This leads to another principle you must absorb. Your emotions follow your dominant thoughts. The reason so many people are dragged down by discouragement, anxiety, and hopelessness is not because their emotions are naturally weak. Rather, it is because their thoughts are undisciplined. A person who thinks fear will feel fear. A person who thinks gratitude will feel gratitude. A person who thinks growth will feel confidence. Attitude is not emotion. Attitude gives birth to emotion. If your dominant thought is defeat, your emotional state will reflect defeat. If your dominant thought is victory, your emotional state will grow stronger until it supports that victory. This is why the positive mental attitude must become the ruling force of your internal environment. It is the commander, the interpreter, the filter through which all feelings are shaped and all actions directed. To help you develop this mastery, I want you to adopt a daily practice. Mental auditing. Just as a business audits its accounts to ensure accuracy, you must audit your thoughts to ensure alignment with your goals. At least twice a day, morning and night, pause and ask yourself, what has been the dominant tone of my thinking today? Have I been cultivating fear or faith? Have I been dwelling on obstacles or opportunities? Have I been thinking as a creator or as a victim? The purpose of this audit is not to shame yourself, but to realign yourself. Every time you become aware of your drift, you reclaim your power. Awareness is the first step of mastery. Now, let me give you another truth most people resist. Your world does not change until you change. You may try to manipulate circumstances, adjust routines, shift responsibilities, or rearrange external conditions. But until your attitude evolves, until your inner world expands, your outer world will remain essentially the same. You will simply repeat new versions of the old patterns you haven't transcended. This is why people change jobs and still feel unfulfilled, change relationships and still feel lonely, change scenery and still feel stuck. They alter the outer environment while leaving the inner environment untouched. But you must reverse the order. Change within first. Your attitude is the seed. Your life is the fruit. If the fruit is bitter, change the seed. Let us now raise the standard. A positive mental attitude is not simply the refusal to think negatively. It is much more dynamic, more powerful, more creative. It is a state of deliberate expectation, a mental posture that looks at life and says, there is something here for me. There is a benefit in this moment, a lesson in this hardship, an opportunity in this chaos. The positive mental attitude searches for the advantage instead of the disadvantage, the good instead of the bad, the opening instead of the obstacle. And because it searches, it finds. Remember this. Your mind will always find what it is trained to look for. Train it to seek wealth, opportunity, solutions, and progress. And that is exactly what it will uncover. But now we must confront the greatest barrier to developing a strong mental attitude. Your environment. You cannot grow roses in poison. You cannot nurture strength in an environment of weakness. You cannot maintain a high vibration in a low-quality mental climate. The people you allow into your mind through conversation, music, or influence become partners in shaping your attitude. Energy is contagious. Mindset is contagious. Attitude is contagious. If you surround yourself with complainers, you will complain. If you surround yourself with excuse makers, you will make excuses. If you surround yourself with those who expect defeat, you will begin to expect defeat. You must take extreme responsibility for your environment. Build a mental fortress around your attitude. Become selective. Become deliberate. Surround yourself with ideas, voices, and influences that uplift, strengthen, and sharpen your mental attitude. This is not selfish. It is survival, because your attitude determines your destiny, and anything that weakens it is a threat to your future. Another principle must now be addressed: autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the mechanism by which you imprint your attitude onto your subconscious mind. The subconscious governs your habits, your instincts, your intuition, and your automatic reactions. But it does not think. It responds. It accepts. It absorbs. It obeys. When you speak to yourself, when you repeat thoughts silently or aloud, when you visualize your goals, your subconscious takes these impressions and works tirelessly to bring them into reality. This is why you must speak with clarity, confidence, and consistency. Whatever you repeatedly tell yourself, your subconscious will take as instruction. Do not underestimate this. Many people sabotage their lives because they have unknowingly instructed their subconscious to bring them failure. They say, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm not good enough," or "I always struggle," and their subconscious obeys with precision. But from this moment forward, you must use autosuggestion consciously. Speak the words that align with the life you desire. Say, "I am capable, I am resourceful, I am prepared, I am attracting opportunity, I am in command of my thoughts." Repeat them daily. Repeat them with emotion. Repeat them until they reshape the inner beliefs that have kept you bound. Next, you must understand the relationship between attitude and action. Action without direction leads to exhaustion. Direction without attitude leads to stagnation. But action with a positive mental attitude leads to momentum, and momentum is the bridge between desire and achievement. You cannot merely think your way to success. You must act. But your actions must be infused with expectancy, purpose, and conviction. A weak mental attitude creates weak action. A strong mental attitude creates bold action. And bold action opens doors that timid action can never approach. This is why you must cultivate the habit of acting in spite of fear, of moving before you feel ready, of taking steps even when the full path is unclear. The universe responds not to hesitation, but to initiative. A positive mental attitude gives you the courage to start, the resilience to continue, and the stamina to persist. Every great achievement in history was built not by perfect conditions, but by imperfect people with powerful attitudes who acted decisively. Let us now address a deeper principle. Your attitude determines your interpretation of reality. Every experience you encounter is neutral until your mind assigns it meaning. A delay can be interpreted as a setback or as preparation. A challenge can be seen as punishment or as training. A change can be viewed as loss or as an opening. Your interpretation shapes your emotional state. Your emotional state shapes your actions. Your actions shape your outcomes. And your outcomes reinforce your attitude. It is a cycle, one that most people repeat unconsciously, but you must now direct consciously. When something happens, pause. Do not react. Respond. Ask yourself, how can this serve me? What advantage can I draw from this? What skill can I develop? What lesson prepares me for the future I desire? This is how you turn life into an ally instead of an adversary. This is how you transform challenges into gifts and obstacles into stepping stones. And once you master this, nothing will be able to break your spirit. Because you will see purpose in every experience, you must accept that your attitude is a decision, not a mood. Most people treat their attitude as something that just happens, influenced by weather, traffic, finances, or convenience. But the person who builds wealth and opportunity treats attitude as a discipline, a commitment, a non-negotiable standard. You do not wait to feel positive. You choose positivity. You do not wait for circumstances to be favorable. You choose the attitude that makes you powerful regardless of circumstance. This is what separates leaders from followers, creators from complainers, victors from victims. In closing this part, I want you to do something essential. Decide your attitude for tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Tonight, write it down. Declare it. Set the intention. Choose the thoughts you will allow and the thoughts you will reject. Choose the meaning you will assign to challenges. Choose the frequency you will operate on. Because if you do not choose consciously, you will default unconsciously. And default thinking leads to default living. This is your awakening. This is your turning point. This is the moment you stop renting your attitude to circumstance and begin owning it fully. And once you own it, wealth and opportunity cannot help but be drawn to you. Because the world always, always, always responds to the mind that knows where it is going and refuses to be shaken. There is a universal truth that most people overlook. Every circumstance, every outcome, every opportunity or obstacle you encounter is first and foremost a reflection of the thoughts and expectations you habitually nurture within your own mind. The world is a mirror, impartial and unyielding, reflecting not what you want, but what you are. More precisely, what you think and what you feel most persistently. If your attitude is one of defeat or passivity, if you habitually dwell on what is missing, lacking, or unfair, then you will consistently encounter events and people that confirm your inner belief. On the other hand, when you develop the discipline of seeing every moment, every situation as a potential gift or stepping stone, then the universe responds in kind, presenting possibilities where others only see dead ends. This is not magic or superstition, but the most practical law in existence. You are always programming your mind to look for evidence that supports your dominant perspective, and in so doing, you train your senses and actions to pursue and attract the very things you dwell upon. If your dominant thoughts are of expansion, increase, and creative possibility, you will see opportunities others cannot see. If your dominant thoughts are of fear, limitation, or resentment, you will find proof for those conditions and, worse, unconsciously sabotage your own progress. The way you see the world is the way the world responds to you, and no outside force can change this dynamic except the conscious decision to alter the quality of your mental attitude. You must understand that wealth, whether it manifests as money, influence, relationships, or fulfillment, begins as a seed planted in the fertile soil of a positive mental attitude. What you water nourishes and multiplies. What you neglect withers and dies. There is no mystery. You cannot expect a harvest of prosperity from a field you have sown with worry and doubt. The universe is neutral, but it is exacting. It will multiply what you plant, no matter what. Plant faith, reap confidence. Plant ideas, reap innovation. Plant discipline, reap results. But plant negativity, and you will surely harvest discouragement, stagnation, and regret. This is not cruelty, but the fundamental nature of creative existence. Your greatest responsibility, therefore, is to become the vigilant caretaker of your own mind. This is a task most people ignore, treating their thoughts as idle visitors or random occurrences, rather than as the architects of their reality. From this moment, commit yourself to the daily discipline of monitoring, shaping, and uplifting your mental atmosphere. This means refusing to entertain thoughts of defeat, refusing to allow the opinions or failures of others to set the temperature of your own belief, and, most critically, refusing to surrender your vision for any passing disappointment. Just as a builder checks and rechecks every blueprint before construction, you must check and recheck the thoughts you habitually return to, for these will determine the structure of your destiny. Some will object, but life is hard. There are obstacles I cannot control. That is true for everyone. The difference is not in circumstance, but in response. Two people may face the same storm. One is broken, the other is strengthened. What separates them is not the weather, but the preparation, the attitude, and the choice to see every wind as a means to greater mastery. There will always be forces outside your control. You cannot decide the weather, the economy, or the moods of others, but you can, without exception, decide the meaning you assign to every event, the lessons you extract, and the action you take. This is your creative power, the power to interpret, to choose, to act with vision and strength when others merely react with fear. A positive mental attitude is not the absence of difficulty, but the resolve to turn difficulty into development. This means asking, in every setback, not why me, but what now? What can I do with this? How does this prepare me for the success I claim? Most people recoil at challenge, missing the fact that growth only occurs when we step beyond the familiar. Opportunity is always born on the edge of discomfort. When you train yourself to welcome challenge as the raw material for your own evolution, you become immune to the paralysis that stops others in their tracks. Every great creation, every innovation, every fortune began with the refusal to accept limits as final. There is a law in operation that few recognize. Reality bends to persistent, disciplined thought. It does not yield to fleeting hopes or vague wishes, but to the attitude that combines purpose with expectation, clarity with courage. When you decide, with the full authority of your own will, that you will interpret every event as a building block, you move beyond reaction and begin to shape reality itself. This is the point at which life ceases to happen to you and begins to respond to you. Your next step is to accept the role of repetition and suggestion in creating your inner and outer circumstances. The mind cannot be forced into greatness through a single act of will. It must be gently, consistently trained. Repetition is the architect of belief. Every affirmation you repeat, every visualization you practice, every positive thought you choose to revisit engraves itself deeper into your subconscious until it becomes your default mode of operation. This is not mere wishful thinking. This is the science of self-mastery. The subconscious does not argue. It accepts what it is given and works tirelessly to prove it true. The question is not whether you are programming your mind, but whether you are doing so consciously, deliberately, and in alignment with the future you desire. Begin with your words, for they are the bridge between thought and manifestation. Speak with the expectation that good is unfolding for you. Speak of solutions, not problems, of growth, not loss, of abundance, not lack. Each word is a command to your subconscious, an instruction to your creative faculties. If you speak carelessly, if you indulge in criticism or self-pity, you poison the very soil from which you hope to harvest your dreams. If you speak with clarity and conviction, you plant seeds of greatness and water them with your attention. The attitude you voice becomes the reality you live. Your habits are the daily expression of your attitude. Do not underestimate the cumulative power of small, repeated acts done in the spirit of faith and expectancy. Wealth and opportunity are not the result of isolated efforts, but of persistent alignment, mental, emotional, and practical, over time. Each morning is an opportunity to begin again, to choose your thoughts, to declare your intentions, to act with discipline, even when motivation is absent. Routine, when guided by the right attitude, becomes the invisible scaffolding upon which achievement is built. Do not wait for inspiration to act. Act, and inspiration will follow. Do not wait for confidence to begin. Begin, and confidence will grow as your reward. It is here that the majority falter. They begin with enthusiasm, but when the initial energy fades, when results are slow to appear, they allow doubt to creep in and sabotage their progress. Understand, your attitude is most powerful not in moments of excitement, but in moments of monotony and adversity. Anyone can be positive when the sun shines. It is the ability to persist with faith and determination in the unseen hours that forges character and brings forth results. You are not measured by how you act when it is easy, but by how you endure, adapt, and advance when it is not. There is a paradox at the heart of all success. The more you depend on external motivation, the less you will accomplish. The more you develop the inner engine of attitude, discipline, and expectation, the less you will require outside encouragement. The truly unstoppable individual draws power from their own wellspring. They set their own standards, chart their own course, and become, in the process, a source of inspiration for others. But this independence is not granted by the world. It is earned by the persistent training of your mind, the relentless cultivation of your thoughts, and the unwavering commitment to rise above the mediocrity that tempts the masses. One more truth must be absorbed. Everything you desire exists first in the realm of possibility, then in the realm of belief, then in the realm of action, and finally in the realm of manifestation. The bridge between each stage is attitude. It is attitude that allows you to see what is possible, attitude that transforms possibility into certainty, attitude that converts certainty into relentless action, and attitude that sustains you until the result appears. This is why the battle is always won or lost in the mind long before any outward victory or defeat is visible. Master the inner domain, and the outer world yields to your intention. Gratitude is one of the highest forms of positive mental attitude and one of the most powerful magnets for wealth and opportunity. It is the antidote to resentment, the shield against discouragement, and the engine of expansion. A grateful mind is alert to value, open to increase, and immune to scarcity thinking. Make it a daily discipline to list what is working, what is growing, what is possible. In every setback, find one thing to be thankful for, a lesson learned, a strength discovered, a resource revealed. By focusing on what is present rather than what is missing, you create a momentum of abundance that cannot help but multiply itself in your experience. Clarity is another pillar. Vague hopes produce vague results. A positive mental attitude does not mean you simply hope for better. It means you declare with specificity what you desire and hold it before your mind as a living reality. Write your goals. Visualize them in vivid detail. Speak as if they are already unfolding. The clearer your aim, the stronger your attitude, and the more relentless your action will become. The mind, like an arrow, requires a target. Give yourself one. The world will step aside for the individual who knows precisely where they are going and will not be turned aside. Never forget that your attitude is your own. It is not inherited, not dictated by others, not the product of your past unless you permit it. Each day, each moment, you renew the lease or claim ownership. The forces of negativity are always at work, always waiting for the chance to enter when you are tired, distracted, or discouraged. But the vigilant mind does not sleep. It stands guard, choosing again and again to expect good, to see possibility, to rise above complaint and conformity. To make these principles practical, choose one mental discipline and master it until it becomes effortless. Begin with your morning. Upon waking, declare your attitude for the day. Set your intentions. Write or speak your goals. As the day progresses, notice the thoughts that arise. When you catch yourself drifting toward doubt, bring your mind back to faith, back to gratitude, back to vision. At night, reflect on your progress, reaffirm your power, and rest in the certainty that tomorrow you begin again, stronger, wiser, more aligned. The path to wealth and opportunity is not a path of luck or chance. It is the path of those who will not yield their attitude to the storms of life, who refuse to surrender to mediocrity, who persist, adapt, and grow until the world has no choice but to recognize their intention and respond in kind. This is the law. This is the promise. This is your inheritance if you are willing to claim it. When you come to understand the true nature of a positive mental attitude, you recognize it as a living force, a current running through your thoughts, words, and actions, animating everything you touch with possibility. The average mind is reactive, forever at the mercy of external events, easily swayed by the smallest disappointment, easily discouraged by temporary defeat. The mind tuned to positivity, however, is proactive. It does not wait for conditions to become favorable. It begins where it stands, with whatever tools, talents, and opportunities are at hand, and bends the world to its intention. This proactive approach is not arrogance. It is alignment with the creative order of the universe. You were not designed to be a passive spectator, but an active builder of your own destiny. It is critical that you fully grasp this distinction. There are those who allow each passing event to dictate their mood, sap their energy, and steal their hope. They live on a psychological roller coaster, forever up or down, depending on circumstance. Their lives are marked by unpredictability, by uncertainty, by a chronic sense of waiting for the world to change before they do. And then there are those who, regardless of what the day brings, maintain a steady inner equilibrium. These individuals have developed the habit of independent thinking. They have trained themselves to interpret events through the lens of purpose, to extract value from disappointment, and to move forward with courage when others shrink in fear. The world rewards these men and women with greater opportunity, greater responsibility, and ultimately, greater wealth. At the core of this transformation is the discipline of intention. It is not enough to want a better life, to hope for more, to dream of greatness. Intention is more than desire. It is the deliberate act of directing your thought toward a definite aim, holding that aim at the center of your attention, and refusing to be turned aside by distractions, doubts, or delays. Every day, you must set your intention, not just for what you wish to accomplish, but for the attitude you will maintain regardless of what happens around you. This means deciding every morning that your mental state will not be rented out to the fluctuations of the market, the moods of others, or the uncertainty of events beyond your control. You declare, I will remain steady. I will interpret all that occurs in my life as a means of growth and expansion. I will draw energy from adversity and wisdom from challenge. Consistency is the mark of all lasting achievement. The world is filled with people who begin in a blaze of enthusiasm only to fade at the first sign of resistance. Success belongs not to the one who acts in fits and starts, but to the one who persists day after day, even when the rewards are invisible, even when progress seems slow. The positive mental attitude is not a one-time event or a mood you summon only when it is convenient. It is a discipline you practice until it becomes so deeply ingrained that you cannot be shaken from your course by any force less powerful than your own will. This discipline, like any other, is built through repetition, through conscious choice, through relentless self-reminding of what matters most. Do not fall into the trap of comparing your progress to that of others. The world moves at different paces for different people, and what appears as overnight success is always the result of months or years of invisible labor, mental, emotional, and practical. Your only true competition is the person you were yesterday. The question you must ask is not, am I as successful as someone else? But, am I more focused, more positive, more purposeful, more resilient than I was last week, last month, last year? Growth is cumulative, compounding over time like interest in a bank. The mind that is persistently nourished with expectation, gratitude, and clarity will attract results far beyond what can be predicted by logic alone. Let us address another critical element. Self-talk. The words you say to yourself are the instructions you give to your subconscious mind. Most people engage in a running monologue of worry, criticism, regret, and fear, not realizing that every phrase repeated is an order sent directly to the deeper mind, which then sets about proving those words true. From this day forward, refuse to indulge in self-condemnation, in words that limit, belittle, or confine. Instead, choose words of power. Speak to yourself as a leader speaks to an army, with conviction, with vision, with encouragement. Declare, even when circumstances seem contrary, that you are resourceful, capable, and unstoppable. The subconscious will believe what you consistently affirm, and soon your beliefs will become your reality. You must also cultivate the habit of decisive action. A positive mental attitude is not idle. It moves. It sees the next step, however small, and takes it without hesitation. Doubt paralyzes, but decisiveness liberates. When you see an opportunity, act on it. When you sense a need for change, do not procrastinate. When you make a commitment, follow through. Action, taken in faith and guided by a positive expectation, is a magnet for opportunity. The universe does not respond to wishers and worriers. It responds to those who act with certainty even when the outcome is unknown. It is here that many stumble, believing they must wait for the right time, the right feeling, the perfect set of conditions. This is folly. Conditions are never perfect. The right time is always now, because now is the only moment you can shape. The individual who trains themselves to act without delay, to move in the face of doubt, to create momentum even when confidence is shaky, soon discovers that action breeds clarity, courage, and conviction. Each step taken in faith multiplies the power of attitude, reinforcing the belief that progress is possible and desirable. Guard your energy fiercely. The world is full of drains, people, habits, environments, even thoughts that sap your vitality and leave you depleted. You cannot afford to waste energy on what does not move you closer to your vision. This means cutting out gossip, avoiding pointless argument, refusing to dwell on past mistakes, and spending as little time as possible with those who drag your spirit downward. Instead, seek out sources of inspiration. Feed your mind with ideas that expand your imagination. Spend time in silence, reflection, and gratitude. The more you invest in your own energy, the more you will have to give to your work, your relationships, and your mission. Another principle of enormous importance is the role of environment. You do not grow strong in a weak environment. Your surroundings, physical, mental, emotional, are the soil in which your attitude either thrives or withers. Examine your daily environment. Is it cluttered with distractions, negativity, and stagnation? Or is it designed to foster focus, creativity, and progress? The greatest transformation often begins with a single change in environment. A new workspace, a new routine, a new association. Do not underestimate the power of your surroundings. Just as a plant leans toward the sun, your mind leans toward the influences you allow into your world. Cultivate an environment that expects, encourages, and celebrates growth. The principle of expectation is another key. The mind does not attract what it wants, it attracts what it expects. This is why the habitual worrier is always surrounded by more things to worry about, while the habitual optimist seems to enjoy a run of good luck that defies explanation. Expectation is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you expect failure, you act timidly, half-heartedly, unconsciously preparing for disappointment. If you expect success, you act boldly, persistently, preparing your mind and actions for the best. The universe has a way of meeting you at your level of expectation, never higher, seldom lower. Train yourself to expect good, to anticipate opportunity, to believe in increase and expansion as your natural state. Along with expectation comes resilience. The positive mental attitude is not naive. It prepares for setbacks, for delays, for the long road. When challenges come, as they inevitably will, resilience is the difference between the person who gives up and the person who grows up. Resilience is the product of mindset, not mere endurance. It is the belief that every difficulty is temporary, that every obstacle is preparing you for greater achievements, that no setback is permanent unless you make it so by surrendering your vision. Resilience is not gritting your teeth and bearing hardship. It is the active process of mining every experience for wisdom, for strength, for leverage. Let us now speak of vision. The mind, left without vision, reverts to survival, to distraction, to the mundane. Vision elevates thought. It lifts you out of the present and draws you into the realm of possibility, of greatness, of destiny. Your vision is your guiding star. It is the standard against which all decisions, actions, and attitudes are measured. If your vision is weak, your attitude will be weak. If your vision is compelling, your attitude will grow strong enough to sustain you through every season. Renew your vision daily. Write it, see it, feel it, speak it. Let it be the fire that lights your way when the night is dark and the road uncertain. Gratitude must remain at the heart of your practice. A grateful mind is a creative mind. It sees value where others see lack. It multiplies whatever it touches. Each day, count your blessings, not your problems. Reflect on what is growing, not what is missing. The discipline of gratitude is the discipline of recognizing increase, and where you place your focus, energy flows. The universe expands to fill the mental containers you build, and gratitude is the largest, most generous container of all. Never fall prey to the idea that your circumstances are fixed. The world you experience is the world you construct, thought by thought, belief by belief, decision by decision. No matter what your past has been, you can claim a new future by claiming a new attitude. The greatest transformations come not from external changes, but from the single internal choice to think higher, expect more, act bolder, and refuse to settle for less than your vision demands. Practice awareness. Do not let your days pass in a blur of habit and routine. Each hour, each moment offers you the chance to check in. What am I thinking now? Does this thought serve my vision? Is this feeling moving me forward or holding me back? Awareness is the gateway to change, and change is the gateway to opportunity. The more conscious you become of your attitude, the more power you have to steer it, shape it, and use it as the lever for all your dreams. Remember, all achievement, all wealth, all greatness begins and ends within. The world outside will shift to match the world inside. When you own your attitude, when you make it non-negotiable, when you persist in training it every day, no matter what life throws at you, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. No level of wealth or opportunity you cannot attain. No legacy you cannot build. This is not merely the law of success, it is the invitation to mastery. There is a force at work within every individual, a latent power waiting for command, a reservoir of energy, insight, and tenacity that remains dormant until summoned by the conscious choice to think and act from a place of unwavering positivity and purpose. Most people never tap into this power, not because it is hidden, but because it is ignored. They become preoccupied with the noise of the world, with distractions, with the opinions and failures of others, with fear disguised as caution, and with comfort disguised as safety. But the person who chooses to live from a positive mental attitude awakens this inner force and, through disciplined thought and action, brings it into every area of life, setting into motion a chain reaction of events, relationships, and opportunities that cannot help but elevate their experience. Let us press further into the mechanics of this principle. Every time you encounter a challenge, an obstacle, or an unexpected change, you are faced with a fundamental choice: to react or to respond. Reaction is unconscious, automatic, shaped by old habits, fears, and emotional triggers. Response is conscious, chosen, shaped by clarity, values, and vision. The gap between reaction and response is the space in which your destiny is written. The person ruled by reaction is always a step behind, forever on the defensive, always seeking to restore comfort and predictability, yet never making progress beyond the boundaries of their old limitations. The person who chooses response, on the other hand, rises above circumstance, looks for lessons, adjusts strategy, and moves forward with intention even in the midst of uncertainty. This shift from reaction to response is the essence of self-mastery, and it is the true mark of a positive mental attitude. It is not the denial of feeling, but the discipline to let higher values, rather than passing moods, dictate your choices. Every time you pause before acting, ask, what does my vision demand here? What outcome am I truly seeking? How can I use this situation to build greater strength, insight, or resilience? You elevate yourself from the ordinary and enter the realm of creation, where every experience, pleasant or painful, becomes fuel for your ascent. This mastery of response is also the foundation of personal responsibility. It is easy to fall into the trap of blame, to point the finger at society, at circumstances, at luck, at the mistakes of others. But blame is the language of powerlessness. Responsibility is the language of power. You may not choose every event, but you choose every interpretation. You may not control the behavior of others, but you control what you do with their actions and words. Responsibility does not mean accepting blame for what you did not cause. It means accepting ownership of your future, regardless of your starting point. With responsibility comes freedom. Because you are no longer a slave to circumstance, you become the architect of meaning. There is a liberating realization in this. Nothing outside you can dictate the quality of your mind unless you allow it. You cannot be offended without your consent. You cannot be discouraged without your agreement. You cannot be kept small unless you accept a small vision for yourself. This is not an excuse to withdraw from the world, but an invitation to engage with it from a place of strength. Each time you catch yourself tempted to complain, to criticize, to excuse, stop and remember that every complaint is an abdication of power, every criticism is an admission of weakness, and every excuse is a retreat from greatness. Instead, ask, how can I rise? What can I build? Who can I become in the face of this challenge? There is a principle that flows from this, the power of decision. Each day is a tapestry of decisions, some large and obvious, others small and seemingly trivial. But over time, the accumulation of small decisions becomes the trajectory of your life. The attitude with which you decide determines the quality of every outcome. A positive mental attitude says, I will choose based on possibility, not on fear. I will commit to a path and persist until I see it through. I will not be swayed by the setbacks that break the spirits of the undecided. The undecided drift, the decisive direct. The world may attempt to distract you, to lure you into indecision with its noise and its shifting trends. But the person who practices the discipline of decisive thought and action becomes a magnet for opportunity, because the universe moves to fill the vacuum left by clarity and conviction. Every decision is a statement of belief. When you act in faith, you declare, I trust the process of growth. I believe in my ability to learn, to adapt, to overcome. Each day, renew your major decisions. The decision to focus on growth, to feed your mind only what strengthens it, to guard your environment fiercely, to take action even when confidence is low, to speak only what you wish to see multiplied in your life. The power of these daily decisions, compounded over time, creates a momentum that becomes unstoppable. The person who decides their attitude every morning cannot be defeated by the moods of others, by unexpected news, or by temporary reversals, because they have already anchored themselves to an inner standard that no outside event can break. The mind, when thus directed, becomes a servant of your purpose. There is no power in idle wishing, in vague desire, or in hoping the world will change while you remain the same. You must become relentless in driving your attention toward the outcomes you want, refusing to indulge in fantasies of rescue or the delusion of instant reward. The only magic is the magic of focus and effort, repeated day after day, until the world can no longer ignore the clarity of your intention. Desire, backed by decision, infused with discipline, and driven by a positive mental attitude, is the formula for all manifestation. Discipline is the bridge between desire and result. Most people know what to do, but few do what they know. The difference is not knowledge, but the will to persist. Discipline is not harshness, not rigidity, not denial for its own sake. Discipline is love for your vision, expressed as consistent action. The positive mental attitude thrives in the environment of discipline. For every act of self-control, every moment of focus, every small sacrifice for a larger purpose is a signal to your subconscious that you mean business, that your dreams are to be taken seriously. In time, this discipline becomes effortless. What once required effort becomes a natural part of your character. Momentum is built in these moments. Every time you act on your intention, however small, you build a track record of trust with yourself. You prove to your subconscious that you are a person of follow-through, not just of promise. This internal trust is more valuable than any external validation. It becomes a foundation of quiet confidence, an assurance that you can rely on yourself, that you can be counted on to do what needs to be done, regardless of the mood or the weather or the opinions of others. Confidence is not arrogance, but the simple conviction that you have mastered yourself and that you will adapt, persist, and overcome whatever may come. This self-mastery extends to your words. Never underestimate the creative power of what you say. Speech is thought made visible, intention made public. Each time you speak, you reinforce a particular worldview. Speak with care, with confidence, with clarity. Avoid gossip, which dissipates energy. Avoid complaint, which multiplies weakness. Avoid idle talk, which steals your attention from what matters most. Instead, speak your vision, even if only to yourself. Speak your standards, your goals, your gratitude. Each word you utter is a seed, and you will always, eventually, reap the harvest of what you have sown in speech. Relationships are also governed by your mental attitude. You attract into your life not what you want, but what you are. If you wish to be surrounded by inspiring, ambitious, and positive people, you must become the kind of person who inspires, who lifts, who sees possibility in others. The law of attraction is not a mystical doctrine, but a practical principle. Like seeks like, and your most frequent associations are a reflection of your own dominant thoughts and habits. When you cultivate a positive mental attitude, you naturally distance yourself from those who wish to remain in negativity and excuse, and you draw closer to those who are climbing, building, and dreaming. These relationships become a source of strength, a mirror for your highest ideals, and a network of opportunity that could never be engineered by calculation alone. Time, too, is shaped by your attitude. The positive mind is present, alert, and awake to the opportunity of every moment. It does not waste hours on regret for the past or anxiety for the future. It knows that the only place where life can be lived is here and now. Make it your habit to greet each new day as an adventure, each hour as a new possibility, each task as an act of self-creation. Time is not a prison, but a playground for those who approach it with the expectation of growth and the discipline of action. No matter how far you have come, there will be seasons of testing, fatigue, doubt, setback, and even apparent failure will come knocking. These are not signals to stop, but signals to grow. Every test is an opportunity to deepen your discipline, to expand your vision, to fortify your attitude. The greatest breakthroughs are often preceded by the greatest struggles. Do not shrink from these moments. Lean into them. Use them as proof that you are being prepared for something greater. The positive mental attitude is never broken by adversity. It is only strengthened, purified, and sharpened for the victories ahead. Practice reflection without judgment. Each day, review your progress. Where did you act from faith? Where did you slip into old patterns? Where did you speak your vision? And where did you speak your fear? Do not condemn yourself for mistakes. Use them as information, as feedback, as raw material for tomorrow's improvement. Growth is a process, not a single event. Celebrate your wins, however small. Learn from your losses, but never dwell on them. Each day is a new invitation to practice, to improve, to become more of the person you were meant to be. Above all, let gratitude and generosity become the twin pillars of your practice. The more you appreciate, the more there is to appreciate. The more you give, the more you receive. Opportunity flows to those who expand the world for others, who share ideas, energy, and resources without fear of lack. Generosity is not the privilege of the wealthy. It is the attitude of the truly abundant. Practice giving your attention, your encouragement, your ideas, and your resources, and you will discover that the world is far more willing to support those who support others. The journey is not always smooth, but it is always worthwhile. The more you claim your attitude, the more you train your focus, the more you align your actions with your highest ideals, the more you will find that doors once closed begin to open, that problems once insurmountable begin to dissolve, and that the people, circumstances, and ideas necessary for your next level of growth begin to flow into your life with increasing ease and frequency. This is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is the natural result of becoming the kind of person who is ready, willing, and able to receive. You are not just chasing wealth and opportunity. You are becoming the source from which they flow. The journey is internal first and external second. The transformation you seek begins, continues, and is sustained by the relentless practice of a positive mental attitude.